Talking about a woman, and they said that if a bra is in the way that you can remove it. That is true. You won't get in trouble if an adult had to do CPR. They could do that, but you have to protect a person's privacy. So you have to make sure that that there's not a lot of people standing around watching. So what we're going to do is make sure the chest, there's no clothing there. Another thing they mentioned is about make sure that the chest is clean in terms of hair. If it's a male and they have a hairy chest, these won't stick very well. So what we want to do is make sure that we have a clean area. There's two ways that you can do this. In a first aid kit, they usually will have something to remove hair. Commonly you'll find a razor, so you would just do a dry shave on the areas that you were going to be placing the pads. Just make sure that there's no hair. It doesn't have to be perfect, but we have to make sure that we get a good seal on the skin. Another thing that you can do is if you go to a drugstore and they have those female waxing strips, you can actually take female waxing strips and put them in the defibrillator pack, because if you are using a defibrillator on a person, you have to remember that they are unconscious and their heart is likely not beating, which means that it's not going to hurt them. Okay? So essentially at this point, they're very close to being dead. So we need to make sure that the area is clean. So wax strips, even though you think for a conscious person to be painful, it wouldn't be. They wouldn't feel it, okay? So you would put the wax strips on where you're going to put the pads and peel them off very quickly. The next thing that you want to do is if the person, let's say it was a swimming pool and they're wet, or they could be sweating because they had a heart attack and they were sweating a lot, you need to make sure the area is clean and dry. So we've shaved the area, we've made sure it's dry. Now we're going to place the pads. Again, it's good if you have somebody to help you, because you don't want to you don't want to have a large gap of time between when you stop CPR and when you start the defibrillator. Like in the video, the one person did it while the other person was still doing the CPR. So I'm going to take the first pad here that goes on the upper, let's see, their right side of the chest, just below the collarbone. So I'm going to place it right here so you can see. This is where the first pad will go. Second pad, we remove it, and we're going to place it just below the nipple line on the side of the rib cage on the person's left side. Okay? Make sure there's no bubbles underneath. And again, the reason that one pad goes here and one pad goes here is that there will be an electrical current that will go through the heart and that will provide the shock. So if you imagine electricity going from one pad to the other, so we're intersecting, we're going right through the heart. Questions at the end?
No, it's kind of like a statement.
Quickly.
But if you get electrocuted, it's only because you're touching two different amounts of electricity. Yeah. So they'll go up into your body and even out in your heart.
Yes, exactly. If you get electrocuted, it can stop your heart. In this case, we're using it in a good way to actually get the heart going again. So we've got the pads on. Now what we want to do is, say we've just stopped our CPR, we are going to turn the machine on. So there are two buttons on this machine, on and off, and then the shock button. So once we turn it on, we just listen to the machine and do what it says.
Training mode. Call for help.
Make sure your machine doesn't
heart
say
rhythm.
training
Do
mode.
not touch the patient.
This is a trainer. Okay?
Shock advised. Charging. Stand clear.
Okay? So we make sure the person is far enough away from
Press
us.
flashing shock button.
So I say, I'm clear, you're clear, we're
Press
all clear.
flashing shock button.
Then I'm going to press shock.
Shock 1 delivered. It is safe to touch the patient.
So
begin CPR now.
I can